book lovers, Lori here. I'm here today to do my first sit-down video of BookMas, and the topic today is holiday reads that I think that you enjoy. These are reads that I have read over the past couple of years. They're all holiday themed in some way. Some are more holiday themed than others. Some are just have a snowy setting or a snowy environment. But yeah, let's get into it. The first book I'm going to talk about is the anthology that I read a couple of years ago, and this is edited by Stephanie Perkins, and this is My True Love Gave to Me 12 Holiday Stories. I really love this collection for what I remember it. I might actually try to reread it this year. But it's like a series of short stories. Some are by Holly Black, Allie Carter, Matt DeLapina, Gail Foreman, Jenny Han, Dave Leviathan, Kelly Link, Marion McIntyre, Stephanie Perkins, Rainbow Rowell, Lainey Taylor, and Kirsten White. And I remember really enjoying this the first time I read it. They're all different settings. There's a couple of different genres in it. And if you're kind of looking for something to kind of space out your reading or like as a palate cleanser between reads, this one was one that just made me like smile and I was super happy with, and I would highly recommend it. She also has a summer one that she came out with that I also really liked, and there's a tie-in to a couple of the stories in here. But this is one that I would definitely recommend you read, especially if you're looking for some quicker like holiday reads. And I like how there was a bunch of different genres represented in this one that just put a smile on my face. So I would definitely recommend this one. And then another one of the only physical books I actually have is a middle grade book, and that is The Van Beekers of 144th Street by Karen Van Glazer. This is actually the first book in a series, but the first one does have to do with Christmas. It's actually set in New York City, right around where I went to college, right around City College. But you basically follow this family of Van Beekers. There is, how many kids are there? I think there's like 6 or 7 kids in this, and they learn that their landlord is trying to have them evicted right around the holidays. The first book was so cute and so fun, and I really loved the family in this book a lot. There was a lot of holiday adventures that happened, and it was just super cute. And I have continued reading the other series. I actually have to read the 4th book that just came out. But again, it was just a middle grade read that was very reminiscent of New York City life, and it just put a smile on my face, and it just had some really, really fun moments. I really like the characters in this. They have a big family, and I'm like an only child, so any book that has a big family is one that always captures my attention. But this is another one that I definitely recommend that you read, and if you like it, you have a couple of more books to check out as well. 2 books I'm going to chat about are books that have like a snowy sort of environment or setting or being trapped somewhere. And the first book I'm going to talk about is Not If I Save You First by Allie Carter. Here is a photo. I will preface this by saying that it has nothing to do with Christmas, but it does have a snowy setting. And I wound up adoring this book so much when I read it. But it basically follows this girl. Her dad used to be like the head of security for the president of the United States of America, but then he got ousted from his job and he wound up going with his daughter and moving to the Alaskan wilderness, I guess, if I'm remembering correctly. And they're kind of living an isolated life. They're trying to like stay out of the public eye. But when the first son gets dropped in the Alaskan wilderness to be protected, their life goes very, very off track, and there's an adventure. There's like a survival element to it about being trapped in the Alaskan wilderness. It was so captivating. I like read this book so quickly because I had to know what was going to happen. I thought the thrilling adventures was really fun. It was a really unique setting, as I said. Like, I haven't read anything in like a snowy wilderness before. The survival elements was really cool, and I just loved the main character so much. They also had elements where it flashed back to the past to see them as young kids. Such a great read. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to read more by Allie Carter, like especially her backlists. But this was a book that I really enjoyed, and I was hoping we might get a sequel. We haven't got one yet, but it was definitely the first snowy read that I read that was like, ooh, that's a cool setting. So I definitely had to add it on this TBR, and I don't think it's a book many people have read or heard of, but the setting definitely reminds me of winter and the holidays. Well, not the holidays, but just like the wintry months. So definitely a quick read, definitely worth it, especially if you're like, have a snow day. Great read. Super fast paced as well. The next book I'm going to chat about is The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. Picture included. This does have both elements. It does take place on New Year's Eve, and it does take place in the middle of a snowstorm. It's been a while since I read it, but I know it follows a girl, and she's trying to get back home for New Year's Day because that's the day that her best friend died, and she has kind of been living in like a state of like she doesn't want to do anything different. She's kind of dealing with the aftermath of her best friend's death, which she feels some responsibility about. And she winds up getting stuck in an airport on New Year's Eve, or maybe the day before New Year's Eve, because she winds up getting stuck in an airport and she winds up having a connection with this young man. They wind up meeting, they have a connection. The story progresses from there. But this book, I remember, was very focused on self-discovery, very focused on grief, so trigger warnings for that. But I like books that take place in like 24 hours. I've always liked books like that. This book I thought did it super well because you did actually flash back to the past for the main character and kind of saw the moments leading up to that situation, which I thought was really, really cool. But I also like the development of the romance and the potential friendship between these two characters. Again, a really, really fun read, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but it was one that really captured me when I read it. So, again, that's another book that I wanted to chat about. I'm just going to chat about it here. I don't even have a picture, but it's called The Resolutions. I'll see if I can find a picture for you, and I'll put it up here. Unique one that I read, but it basically is set over the course of a year, and you follow this group of friends, a very, very diverse group of friends. There was some LGBTQ representation, just a really fun group of characters. And they, on New Year's Eve, decide to make resolutions for their friends that they have to complete in the next year. And then you follow this group of friends as they're trying to tackle these resolutions. And I thought it was such a cool concept for a novel. And I just really enjoyed it. I read this about 2 years ago, but it still stuck with me, like how interesting that was. And they all had their own self-discovery journeys. I like books that focus on self-discovery. There was some romance elements tossed in, but again, it was just another book that really like spoke to me, and I really, really wound up enjoying it. So I just wanted to tie that in here as well. And now we're gonna move on to all the Christmas-y themed reads that I wound up liking over the past couple of years. The first book I'm going to talk about is definitely the Christmassy read that I think I've read the most, and I might actually try to reread it again this year, but that is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Pasta. I've not heard of this book. It basically follows this girl, and she winds up breaking up with her boyfriend like the day before Christmas break, and her family, her mom, her dad are going to go see her sister who she's pregnant, and she's kind of left by herself, but she has a big Italian family, and when her family gets wind of it that she is now dateless or she's broken up with her boyfriend, they wind up setting her a series of 10 blind dates. And I just adored this book. I come from a huge Italian family. My mom's one of 10 kids. I have like 30 cousins. So just the dynamics of like them having that family dynamic is so reminiscent of what I grew up with. And I love this book. I thought it was excellent. Just put a smile on my face. It had some of the funnest like Christmassy traditions. I liked the dynamics between the families. I liked all the dates were really different and really unique, but also like the romance that developed was also one that I really enjoyed. And I also love the dynamics between the cousins in this book. And it just was very reminiscent of my life when I read it. Like, I've had situations like that with my cousins where, like, we were really not close for a couple of years and we got really close again. And that was kind of what happened in the book. And it just made me smile, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope to actually reread it again this year. But definitely Ashley Parsons' writing is great, but this was her first Christmassy book she wrote, and I wound up adoring it. Her first actual pure contemporary book that I read, and it was one that just definitely put a smile on my face. Really, really fun, and I think I read it in like a day the first time I read it, but definitely enjoyable. Definitely check it out. This is the Netflix tie-in section where I'm going to talk about two series that got the Netflix treatment, one as a TV show and one as a movie. And the first book I'm going to talk about is Let It Snow by John Green, Lauren Miracle, and Maureen Johnson. I read this book so long ago, but I remember last year when I watched the movie, I thought the movie was really, really fun. But if I remember, it's basically a series of 3 short stories that wind up connecting at the end, and it's basically set overnight in the middle of like a snowstorm. I think it's around New Year's Eve, if I'm remembering correctly. But all three stories are written by different authors, but they also all tie in together. But I remember really enjoying the movie. So I actually might try to rewatch the movie this year. The movie had a bunch of different actors. It has the guy that played Tom Holland's best friend in Spider-Man. It had the girl that's in Sabrina, and it has a couple of other actors in it. It just was so fun, but I really liked the tie-in. I think I liked one story more than the other when I read it, but I like the snowy setting, and I just thought it was like a fun tie-in to the New Year's Eve element as well. And again, wasn't my favorite, but definitely worth the read, especially if you're kind of hunkered down due to everything that's happening. It was a read that I read pretty quickly, and then I was able to watch the movie later on. So definitely a potential movie or maybe evening or weekend event. And then the next one I'm going to talk about is the series that I'm in the middle of reading, but that is Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Kahn and David Levithan. So at the time of this filming, I just finished watching the TV show and I'm in the middle of reading the series. There are actually 2 books out well, 3 books out right now, but I read 2. I read Dash and Lily's Book of Theirs and the 10 Days of Dash and Lily. And this is a series where the first book, Lily is a Christmas fanatic and her family, she's very close to her family, but they know that she's a little bit out of luck with love. So she winds up leaving a book in the Strand bookstore with these clues, and this young boy named Dash winds up finding it and winds up participating, and they wind up having a relationship. Like on the page, they wind up sending the notebook back and forth, and it's just in the lead up to Christmas. And then the second book is kind of an extension of that, and then they just came out with Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily, which is set in England. I really liked the book the first time I read it. I think I liked the first one more than the second one, but I really liked the TV show. It's been a while since I read book 1, but I just liked how they adapted. I like the actors. So I really hope to read Mind the Gap this holiday season. I'm going to do like a 24-hour reading vlog closer to Christmas, and I'll film that for you guys, hopefully. But I just like the series a lot. I like David Kahn and Rachel Levithan's writing. Rachel Cohn and David Levithan's writing. Sorry, I reversed their names. But I just thought the series was fun, and I just watched an event that they did where they like don't plan more books in the series. It just kind of happens. And I just really like that. I think the characters are super fun. I like that it's set in New York. There's the Strand bookshops at the mingle of it. These characters are so different, and I just like how they kind of create this Christmas wonderland in all these books. Definitely enjoyable. I would definitely recommend you read it and then check out the TV show on Netflix because it was quite cute. It was only 8 episodes and very, very fast paced. The actors were also amazing as well. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Dash and Lily series. There's 3 books out right now, and I hope to read book 3 at some point this holiday season. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually another short story anthology, and that's Snow and Love, which is written by 3 different authors. I know Casey West is one. Came out 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. But here's a photo. Sorry, it's written by 4 authors. It's Melissa De La Cruz, Nick Stone, Amy Friedman, and Casey West. I remember I really liked Casey West's story in it the best out of all of those, but I like the other ones. I just, I read it a couple of years ago, but it's like $1.99 on Kindle right now, so you guys can go pick it up. But I thought that it was just a fun anthology. Definitely I liked it less than the My True Love Gave to Me by Stephanie Perkins, but I really like Casey West stories in that one, so I would definitely recommend you pick it up for that. The other stories were cute, and again, it's just another fun holiday-themed holiday anthology with a lot of snow. That was another one that had a lot of snowy days in it, and again, super fun. Those stories are not necessarily connected, but they're all about the holidays, so which is kind of how the Stephanie Perkins one is. Let It Snow, definitely all the stories are connected. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that one. And now we're gonna go into the last book in this video, which is the Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. And I don't want to say too much about this book because I remember I went into it with one impression and it totally changed by the end. But basically you follow this girl named Holly Chase, and she basically dies. She passes away at the start of the book. And she's sent as a guardian angel, which is to try to get her out of purgatory. So she has to save this young man's life, or kind of turn it on a path so that she can get her wings and he can have a better life, because she's an angel for the Scrooge program. That's all I'm going to say. It was adorable. I really liked it. I thought the ending was surprising and not what I expected. But I said this before, and I said this on a lot of my videos. I like books about self-discovery, and I think this book was another one that kind of did it that way. Also, it reminded me when I was reading it a little bit of Teen Spirit, which was a movie that came out so long ago. It starred the girl from Pretty Little Liars and the girl from Make It or Break It, and it was just a fun read and a fun watch. But the TV show had just elements of the book that I liked, but I liked the Christmassy elements. I liked the Scrooge program. It definitely was like a Christmas Carol retelling, I'll say that, but it just was so enjoyable. And definitely the end was not what I expected, so I would definitely recommend you guys check that book out. It came out, I think, like a year ago. I think my friend gave it to me for Christmas one year. But yeah, so guys, that's all my Christmas reads I'm going to recommend to you guys. If you saw my previous video, that was the reads I'm tackling this year. I hope you guys like that reading vlog, and I will see you tomorrow for my next video. Bye, guys.